All right, we are back with another episode of Marketing Operators. You've got just Cody and I for now. We're having Jonathan McKenzie on from Turtlebox later on. Cody, good morning. How's it going?
Good morning, dude. Good, doing well. We just launched our second part of our Black Friday sale today, so I probably should be working instead of doing this, but I'm excited to chat, hang out with you today.
Amazing, yeah. Second part of the Black Friday sale. So people will be getting this early December. So knock on wood, hopefully we've had big, scalable, profitable Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekends. What was the purpose of the second part of the sale?
Always trying new stuff and just seeing if we can kind of reignite some stuff and get more peaks going on. So we launched the sale earlier, and now we launched the mini miracle bombs.
Oh, right,
and a little new spin. So just a different offer during part of it.
Okay, totally.
Do you guys change up your offers at all?
We have exclusive offers going live starting Wednesday next week.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've said this before. I was joking about this with you on the last episode, dude. You have the low-hanging growth plan in front of you is just to do more offers, longer sales.
That's so addicting.
Yeah. That's where we've been. Like eventually your sale gets big enough and long enough that you get to start adding additional peaks on top of it, layering in new stuff. It is that's like the circle of life basically. And then you got to worry about AUR. You got to cut it all back because you have a bunch of retail partners. I feel like that's the natural path.
What's AUR?
Average unit revenue.
Got it.
So if you're worried about your AUR degrading because you're promoting too much, then you got to roll back all the promos, do more gifts with purchases. Retailers don't like discounting price because then you got to credit them on margin, all that stuff. So you just have all these additional stakeholders, and it ruins your ability to run big, awesome, long sales.
Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely.
It takes all the fun away. I was thinking this morning about how I really want to try the new protein Starbucks cold brew. Have you seen this?
Dude, it's good. I've had it.
Oh, you had it? Okay, cool.
It's delicious.
Give it 1 to 10 scale.
Dude, I'm so into the protein maxing trend. Like, I'm so into my 3-year-old daughter the other day was like randomly, it was just like, I'm protein maxing. I'm like, all right, that's how I know I'm saying it too much. I find the whole maxing trend so funny when somebody's like,
it's hilarious.
I love it. Yeah, it was good. And like, because the thing is, you get bored of a nice coffee or whatever, but like, I don't do all that sugar stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So this was great. It was filling though. Like it was definitely a little heavier, but 8 out of 10, pleasantly surprised.
8 out of 10, pleasantly surprised. All right, good. Yeah, I'll have to try it. Between that and the Sweet Green 106 gram protein bowl, did you see that?
I saw that.
Protein max. We are protein maxed. It's gone too far.
Yeah, we're probably it's probably a bubble. I know. I saw that. I sent that to my wife. I'm like, we're getting Sweet Green today. So it was like a lot of people that actually try to get protein are trying to get 100 grams a day. To get that in one meal is like wild. Oh,
dude, it's absurd. I mean, like I'm 190 pounds and like trying to get protein. And I never have a meal that has over 100. It just doesn't.
No, that's yeah.
It doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah, no. Even if you're trying to get gram per body weight like 190, like that's still you eat 1.5 of those a day and you're good.
Yeah. And then you put you got protein waffles, you got protein ice cream. There's protein water out now. Protein Starbucks, protein Sweet Green. You got a couple David bars a day. I mean, you could easily hit 400, 500 grams.
That's probably not good for you, but yeah, I've seen like protein candy, and I'm like curious about it, but I'm like, I think that would kill my insides.
Yeah, for sure. No, it sounds.
But I do a lot. Like these are pretty good. These like breakfast most days is like 30 grams of protein, 150 calories. Like grab it on a go. Protein shake. So definitely big protein maxing fan.
Shake. All right. Well, we'll keep us posted. I'll come back with my review of Starbucks cold foam, whatever it is, cold brew.
Let me know. Let us know what you think. If you got any other bars, I know you're loyal to David bars.
Extremely loyal to David bars, dude. Yeah.
I know Connor Rowland is not here. He's a big Ninja Creamy fan, so that's a good way to get a bunch of protein in.
For sure. Yeah. If you also really want ice cream too, delicious treat.
Yeah.
Before we get into talking about brand tracking, linear and connected TV strategies, and talking to Jonathan McKenzie from Turtlebox, I want to thank our sponsors, Motion, Rich Panel, Prescient, Aftercell, and Revo.
Hey, Connor, I don't know if you know this, but there's a lot of talk about creative diversity right now on all platforms. We've been talking about it a lot. Andromeda, I don't know if you heard about that. It's apparently a Greek legend, a Greek myth. But I believe it is something that Meta has done that obviously I'm kidding, but everybody's talking about creative diversity. Everybody's talking about Andromeda and how the game has changed. We are all focused on it. I think there's not a D2C operator who does not know it at this point and how important it is. And being able to test, measure, do creative diversity, get a high volume of diverse assets is really the name of the game. And I'm super excited because Motion has just rolled out AI tagging, which helps to simplify it. As our volume's going, diversity is going up, we have more different types of styles. I know you're a big naming convention guy. I know that you think they're the heart and soul of D2C brand, but another casualty of the AI era, Motion now has AI tagging, which simplifies all of your reporting, automatically tags stuff, just makes it easier to splice data. I know you were just saying, actually, you sent it to your team. I sent it to my team. What are your thoughts on AI tagging so far?
Yeah, no, totally. And Motion's premier sponsor, we're supposed to say nice things, but legitimately, as soon as I got the video from them, because we got early access, sent it right to my team. I'm like, this is the way to go. It makes the comparative analytics just so much simpler. I was just looking at it this morning, bucketing between UGC, lifestyle photo with text, product photo with text, all these different breakdowns that we used to have to labor over to tag and automate and then break down the reports by those dimensions. It's all kind of working out of the box. So, you got it totally right. We were talking about creative diversity all the time. Producing that, I think, is a big challenge for brands right now. Analyzing that, just as big of an issue. And Motion's AI tagging system is a great solution for it. So if you want to check it out, go to motionapp.com and let them know that the marketing operator sent you. Like I said, we're having Jonathan McKenzie on in a bit from Turtlebox. We're going to talk about his TV media buying strategy. Austin will be on from Tatari too, which will be exciting. Before we get into that, I feel this will like segue nicely into the TV discussion. But Cody, I know you're beginning to lay out 2026 plans. We're going to have a 2026 prediction episode and planning episode. We'll do all that. We were posting about it, and it seemed a big focus for you is brand tracking. So I'd love to hear you talk through, what do you guys do currently? Why is it becoming a priority? How do you expect to address it?
Yeah. So like, I feel like my journey has been like, click attribution. I'm like a recovering growth marketer. So like click attribution, you can only invest. Like I remember like the first time I met with a YouTube rep, this wasn't for Jones Road, but this is for a business before it. And I'm like, why would I ever run this channel that I could get a 1 ROAS in when like my meta retargeting is a 3, Right. Like why would I ever do it? And then obviously we plateau of where you can get with just click attribution, and you have to do things to feed that beast a little bit, right? And I think that's where incrementality has really been such a blessing for us, where it's like, all right, these things don't really look great on a click, but they're actually like very incremental. It's still what I would consider performance marketing, meaning like we're still looking at incremental revenue within a 2 to 4 week time period, but it's just moving up funnel and moving kind of beyond a click. And so like YouTube podcast, which isn't necessarily geo, but right, like podcast, YouTube TV, which you can geo and not like those have been really, really strong, helpful channels for us to help grow it. But again, we're able to see, we can run a test with Tatari, or we can do something like that and run a geo and be like, all right, 2-3 weeks, here's our ROAS, here's our incremental revenue, right? And it's like very performance driven. But I do think, by the way, like even of your mid-funnel meta prospecting ads, like you are getting a lot of reach and getting a lot of awareness of that. And you can run those tests with like a meta, I guess it's not a conversion lift, but like a brand lift in meta, right. And say like, are you lifting that even from conversion stuff? And you totally can. But I think just as the business matures and gets to different phases, it's one of those things. Like the other day, Connor Dell asked me like, are you upset you didn't do sales until now? Like looking back, like, should you? And I'm like, no, I'm not really upset. And it's same thing here. It's like, we've underinvested in brand. And like, am I upset that we didn't do it? Like, do I regret it? Or like, was it just not the right thing for us at the time? I don't know. I'm actually not sure on that. But I think we've invested very heavily. And part of the reason we've grown very quickly in performance media and performance marketing. And it's not to say, I think it gets black and white. It's not to say like, we're not going to do that. I'm not trying to like get off of meta or anything. I just think the next growth lever for us is really going to be a little bit more brand style. But I think my concern with doing a lot of that stuff is like totally transparently, like I'm really cheap. I care a lot about profitability, right? Like I'm not, and I think it's very easy with brand marketing to just put money into it, and light it on fire and not hold it accountable and stuff. So you have to, like, I think the dilemma is like, you have to hold it accountable to something, but you can't hold it accountable to things the same way you would of performance media, or it just won't look good. And so I think that's been kind of my journey, is to try to learn that stuff. And it's very different, but I think I'm learning how to actually think about that and do that. And so we signed up for brand tracking, which is awesome, which I'm excited to share about.
Yeah, totally. So I want to go back quickly because you say Jones Road hasn't invested in brand. That doesn't seem accurate to me.
Well, dude, compared to beauty, compared to like the thing is in beauty, like most people are in Sephora, they're not really running performance media. It's like all influencer, all events, all sampling. Like,
okay.
So for a D2C brand, maybe, but I still think we're underinvested in it.
How would you define? Could you define for me, or like just like expand on what you think you haven't invested in? Is it that? Is it sampling and influencer and things like that?
Influencer is a hard one, yeah. So like influencer is probably just like organic seeded, paid influencer, but not like performance influencer is probably like the biggest thing in beauty, right? And it's like very correlated to success, looking at like earned media value. We have definitely, I think, underinvested in that. Like I know that there are businesses that are similar size to us. If not, we are bigger than them, and their earned media value is just like off the charts higher.
Okay.
I think we've just done a better job of performance media. I think I had a hard time being like, okay, if I invested in that, pretty significantly, like that would grow our business. I'm now at the point where I'm like, okay, that is, I think, our lever. Like our performance is outpacing our awareness and our buzz. And I think that's like our ceiling, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense. So when you say you haven't invested in brand, it's like awareness without, I mean, there must be beauty brands that are the same size as you guys, but technically have more awareness.
Yeah, there are.
So it's like, it's awareness decoupled from orders.
Yeah, I think so.
To some degree.
Yeah. And I think I really like, we signed up for Tracksuit and they call it future demand. I really like thinking about it in terms of future demand. And like, I was talking to, I think Jake from Huckberry thinks about this stuff really well, but like, just, his goal is just, are more people searching for your brand? And like, that's it. And it's like, even, you just want to make sure as you're spending more. It's the same thing I talk about with like Meta. Like as I spend more on Meta, I need to make sure I'm reaching more people. Same thing, I think. As you spend more as a total business, like are more people searching for your brand? I think that's like the simplest way of like brand health. It's like, are you getting more people to search for it? And I think, yes, performance media can do that, but at a certain point, I think there's better ways to do it. So things like events, things like, out of home a little bit, but out of home paired with events. I mean, yes, you can even say organic social, like a lot of even like, it's performance, but like TikTok Shop is like a great way to get more people searching for your brand with like viral social content. Like whatever it is, we just haven't done a lot of that stuff, brand campaigns, which can be very successful if done right, but are hard to do. So yeah, we haven't done some of them. And so we want to do a lot more influencer, a lot more organic social, a lot more events. I want to meet more people in person, samples as well. And like Grunes does such a good job with this. So we're going to like really take a page out of their book, right? To just do a ton of sampling. But like, we want to measure it. I don't want to just do all this stuff and put, 6 figures into, because I think to have it be successful, like you have to do a big enough investment. You can't just like dabble.
Right.
To see an impact out of a business of our size. But there has to be some measure. And I think to me, brand tracking is really one of the main ones.
Yeah. So I'm totally with you on this. And it's also just to make this distinction one more time, because what we're talking about, the hardest thing to track is brand awareness without conversion. Because like you can go viral on TikTok and you'll just see revenue go up, and you'll see Amazon sales go up. And it's like not that hard to correlate like, hey, we are doing this strategy over here and we are seeing it impact our bottom line over here. And that's like, there are many businesses, going back to your point around YouTube, there's been alpha for so long in channels that just attribution is harder, that you just have to like find correlations and be comfortable. I remember hearing this from Dr. Squatch early on. They were like, hey, you just have to be comfortable with spending 80% of your budget on YouTube. None of the reporting is going to look good, but your business will be bigger and you're hitting your MER targets. It's like, okay, there's like a level of, there's just this disconnect in attribution that feels a little bit more like brand market-y, right? Like it doesn't feel as DR. You're not looking on a one-day click basis. it's typically, I think that sort of content is just a little bit different. For something like YouTube, you're often able to drive like more awareness, consideration, intent with these like longer form videos. And that's one of the things that creates a disconnect. That people seem pretty comfortable wrapping their minds around. What we're talking about is not necessarily having the revenue correlated with that awareness. And how do you measure that? Because that's when it becomes way trickier. So what does...
Yeah, you go from like YouTube TV is like top of funnel, but you still can get some performance data on it. And this is like legitimately brand stuff where you're almost not even talking about your product sometimes or something. Maybe you
Totally. And we've talked about this a bit before, and I'm excited for like, Connor Rowling does some of this. I'm excited for you guys to I'm going to take all the best practices that you guys develop over the next year, and this will be like a 2027 goal for Ridge.
Dude, I mean, that's why we do the pod. Like, there's been so much that you guys have done that we've implemented. So that's why we do it.
We'll get some more guests on. We'll farm the industry for the best information. Yeah, that's what we're here to do. I was going to say, Tracksuit. Can you remind me like functionally what it does?
Yeah, so it does brand tracking or brand surveys, right? Which is essentially, it does a few things, but like aided and unaided awareness. Maybe it only does one. Like I don't want to misquote it, but it's essentially they create a panel of people, right? They have tools to create panels of people that are in research. You pick your category, any demographics you want, and so awareness is just like, hey, which of these brands are you familiar with? And unaided is just giving people, them and then or not giving them much and then aided is like giving them a little bit more of a prompt. And then there's consideration, right? And it's like, I don't know exactly the question, but it's once they say you're aware, it's like, all right, have you considered purchasing with them? So you can kind of look at the full funnel and say, all right, this is, you have 30% awareness in this category, right? Of premium makeup and skincare. You can see your competitors as well. So you can pick competitor sets. And see how they're comparing. You can then see your conversion rate from awareness to consideration against your others. So maybe there's a brand that has much more awareness, but they don't do as good of a job moving them down funnel, right? Like maybe that brand shouldn't focus on awareness. Like same way we can kind of funnel diagnostics. I think that's why it's really cool and fun learning this. So it's like you can almost apply funnel diagnostics to like these strategies. Then you can go to usage and then preference. And so that's obviously you're getting into more performance. And then, once people try it, are they, loyal to it? And so you can do that. You can see it across categories. You can filter it by demographics, which is really cool, right? And then this is a part, I kind of knew all that stuff, but I didn't do it because traditionally, like brand tracking is really expensive, right? It's like, Nielsen or somebody like that will do it. And it's like, all right, I don't know, you pay whatever it is, a bunch of money one time, like, all right, fine. Like, what am I going to do with that? The really cool thing about it, however they automate it, it's much cheaper and more affordable. You can actually get longitudinal data over time. And so I think that's where it's like, all right, great. Let's get a baseline. Let's figure out where we're at. Do we have an awareness problem or consideration problem, right? With demos, let's then get really strategic. I think I'm just trying to get more strategic at this phase in our business. Let's get really strategic on who we want to reach, go after. Let's do a bunch of stuff over the next quarter, right? And then are those numbers going up? It's like, that's your incrementality test, kind of.
Totally. And that makes a ton of sense because I was also thinking there are ways right now to measure brand awareness, generating this like kind of non-purchase brand awareness at almost like the channel or tactic level, right? You can do a brand lift study on Meta, but you don't have a way to track it for the entirety of your business, much less over time like you're describing. So that's like the real value for you guys is you more or less a single source of truth. You have a pulse on where are we tracking for awareness and consideration.
Yeah, over time. And then ultimately, if we can spike those numbers going up, is that a leading indicator towards revenue? Right? If we do it for a year and we see those numbers going in the right direction, does the business kind of grow with that consistently? And maybe that's a more anecdotal thing, but that's at least our hypothesis that, more awareness, more consideration is probably going to help us grow. So I remember like right around Christmas time when most people normal people were like off, taking their time, chilling with family. I was like looking through our P&L, our budget for next year, and I was like, how are we going to save money? And one of the things I did is I leaned on a lot of our partners, and I remember slacking a meet from Rich Panel, and I was like, what can you do? How can you help us? We had just switched to Rich Panel a few months before, went really well. And I told him jokingly, by the way, I want to throw it out there jokingly, that if he could help cut about $500K from our customer service costs, I'd get a Rich Panel tattoo. Well, we did that. You've probably seen a tweet. He did some AI thing of me with a neck tattoo. I'm not going to do it. Sorry, Amit, but I will talk about how much I love Rich Panel, how much Amit has helped us. So we had 18 support agents before. It was a lot, and it just was not scalable. We had so many people. We had this like old legacy software. It was slow, it was broken, it was expensive, and it just took too many people to operate. So we not only made the switch, but Amit and his team really helped us. Now we have 8 people and we have a much better CSAT score. Our numbers are way better. Our response times are way quicker. We're leveraging a lot of automation, a lot of AI, but again, it has not hurt customer experience. We track and I get a weekly report of our CSAT, of all of our stuff, of our NPS, and it's going up because we're actually able to get back to people, give people better answers. The automation learns from our best agents, so it just continually is getting better. We switched to Rich Panel about 2 weeks before Black Friday. Might be a crazy thing to do, but it was super easy. We came out of Black Friday for the first time in 3 years with no ticket backlog. The software and support has blown us away. I highly recommend you switch. If you do it and they save you a lot of money, you should probably get a tattoo, but it's not something my wife would let me get away with. But yeah, if you're running an e-commerce brand, I highly recommend you switch to Rich Panel. You'll be able to leverage their software, save money on software costs, which is great, while saving a significant amount of money on personnel costs. So if you want to go into Q4 with a leaner, smarter support setup and come out of there without this crazy tech backlog and just make your CX team happier, go to richpanel.com/demo. Tell them Cody from Marketing Operators sent you and tell them you're ready to get a tattoo.
We've had Ashton Wall on the show. It's been a long time. We should have her back on. The former CMO of ColourPop. She's a huge EMV maxi, earned media value, which is like, for those unfamiliar, people will, it's kind of, it's not my favorite metric. It's kind of a made up metric, but they're tracking impressions, engagement from social posts. So it's like quantifying like social buzz to a certain degree. She's a big maxi of that. She's an EMV maxer in the same way that you're a protein maxer. Do you have a position on that? Is that a metric you guys care about at all? Or do you think your kind of key KPI will be this brand tracking?
I think that Ashton is right and I'm wrong. I think that she's talked about it at the Creator IQ conference last year. They had somebody who was essentially this like data guy from Estee Lauder who builds MMMs, like custom MMMs, and has showed data on, above across public beauty companies, like EMV being essentially the strongest correlation with consideration increases, for brands. And then Connor, who used to he created Tribe Dynamics. I don't know if you've talked to him, but another cool Connor, now has his own beer brand, but he used to like post a lot of content and he'd like buy public stocks based on their EMV. And
really?
It's like nice little scheme there, but it's all publicly available stuff. So I do think that is a leading indicator. I think we just haven't invested in it as much or like taken the plunge. And so I think that'll be related to this.
Yeah, totally. And to your point, they seem highly correlated. Like if you can drive consideration, you're probably also driving EMV to some degree.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, it seems like for some reason in beauty and like for me, like interviewing like a high level marketing role for our team lately, like everyone in beauty I talk to, right? It's like, what's your main thing? EMV. Everyone that's like in CPG, it's brand tracking. So it just seems like it's correlated, but yeah, a little different way to go about it.
Yeah, 100%. No, it's interesting. I think Ridge's focus for 2026, you and I are on similar wavelengths here in terms of more tactics that are less like incremental revenue driven, at least on like a short-term measurable basis. I think there is value in us creating additional brand awareness. We'll probably spend more time in 2026 focused on the tactic level. Like I would love to do more brand lift studies. I'll give you an example. I'm putting together a 2026 plan and I would love to we have these large seasonal color stories that come out quarterly. The one in January is called the Ocean Light. It's 3 wallets. It's got this like Hawaii inspiration. So the team was out there. We're going to get this awesome brand video. And in the past, when we deliver things like that, there's a disconnect between the content that we've created and the story that we're telling and like what is working via paid media. And there must be some happy in between. I would like to think that there's some happy in between there where we can measure some sort of impact that media can have. So I would love to figure out a playbook for these seasonal color stories and say, hey, 5 to 8% of our meta budget is going to go to promoting this brand story video that like isn't going to drive direct ROI. One day click's going to be crap, but we're going to measure it via brand lift study and people are going to be more aware of Ridge afterwards. And then I think we'll just kind of build.
So you'll run a meta brand lift as part
Meta
of
brand
value.
lift. Yeah, totally.
Love that.
Or
Tons of value in that, by the way. Same YouTube. I'm sure you're putting that on YouTube. You can
totally.
run same studies there. You can get search lift as well. Super
Yes.
easy to set up, like even in a demand gen campaign. But
Totally.
huge value there. Just tracking baseline too from like Jake. Same thing. It's like if you go ahead and then I'll explain.
I was going to say, you said search lift.
Yeah.
I brought this up on a podcast a couple weeks ago, but you can do, if you do a GeoLift holdout in-house, you can use those DMAs that you're excluding and pull them out of your Google search account from your brand queries. And actually, we've looked at the lift on brand queries, which I think is also a great one, where it's like, I don't know, I could justify a percentage of my media mix. It'll be really small, but if I have proven that this is driving people to take action and search for Ridge Wallet, I think that's fantastic. So it's like building up more strategies there. And then over time, I think that'll become just a little bit more comprehensive. We'll effectively be building brand consideration, but we won't have it like that baseline tracking that you're talking about.
Yeah, no, I think that's like a perfect way to start and go about it. I mean, we've definitely done a few like brand lifts and search lifts on both those platforms. I think it's great. I think there's still a little bit of like, all right, now what do I do with this? Like, so I lifted, so it's 30 cents per lifted, consideration.
Right.
It's like, how do I value that number for my business? Like, I don't know, maybe it's directional, but yeah, no, I love that. And then I think the other thing, and I guess this is more revenue, but maybe not, is like, Jake from Huckberry talking about baseline revenue, but it's like, that's baseline spend, which is essentially non-performance, non-like paid social, but anything that like you would consider upper funnel. And it's just like, all right, as my tracking trends, you build a dashboard for it as my baseline spend is going up. So TV reach awareness spend, is my brand search going up, and just like trying to get simple correlation on those, I think is something we're also tracking as well. When you guys run sweepstakes, do you see searches go up?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, whenever so I don't know if queries disproportionately go up. Whenever we spend more money, queries go up. That's like, there's pretty, and actually, I mean, there have been times in the past where that's an indicator that our media is not being well spent, is if we're spending more and queries are not going up, right? Or if we're spending
100% agreed.
You know what I mean? So we report every single week on brand queries for wallet products, rings products, and luggage. It's like a very key KPI for us. So during sweepstakes, does it go up? Yes. But it also goes up because we're able to spend more because of the sweepstakes. I'd have to look at like, proportionally. One interesting thing about sweepstakes, we launched it in Canada and the UK this year. And that's interesting because we have 4 international markets. They more or less trend very similarly, but Canada and UK has had a significant lift over the other 2 markets post sweepstakes.
I love that. That's so great. Yeah. That's part of the thing is we are just so poorly trained as growth marketers to allow for this really latent, demand capture. And we're looking at things on such a short period of time. And there's a time and a place for that. But like, that's actually like you did a post-treatment window. You did a geo holdout with a post-treatment window.
Totally. And I mean, I think it's pretty convincing. Yeah, I think that's a good point. We are not trained to think about that latent revenue. One thing, but the thing is like a lot of the best marketing, I think the best DR market, let me say it this way, the brands that have done the best, that's also a funny way of putting it. The brands that have done well, this isn't the only way to do it, but like someone like Ridge has been DR focused, where we are running our business on like a short-term profitable sort of objective and not considering the longer-term latent demand, but it is there. Right? It's like, and Ben from True Classic has said this on a couple podcasts, but he talks about ad spend being almost like something you can hold on your balance sheet. And that's getting at the same idea where it's like, look, if you can spend today and generate the cash flow that you need to continue running the business, like that is in your best interest because you have latent demand. That those impressions that you served and those clicks that you drove and those emails that you captured have longer term value that you're not calculating. So it's almost like something that you should consider as being a part of your balance sheet. And I think that's a very similar idea.
Yeah, yes and no. And I was actually thinking about this the other day because I think Ridge and Jones Road are probably similar sized businesses. I think we're thinking more about brand stuff. I feel like you guys just think like marketing. You don't necessarily think like brand versus performance. I think by nature, I was thinking about it why you guys don't necessarily have to. I do think you guys have maybe the nature of your category, you've had to create your own demand, right? You haven't been able to chase demand. So I think that probably made you get certain skill sets that we didn't have to develop as much, where like there's a lot of existing beauty demand. And I think maybe that's like the channel mix, right?
Oh,
It's
sure.
like you guys used to do a ton of YouTube integrations, and like, is that performance? Is it brand? Like, there's a ton of demand creation as part of that. And I wonder if, maybe it's sweepstakes. Like, I wonder if it's something at the channel or just like the way that you guys have done your performance marketing that has done a really good job of creating that. You haven't really had to like bifurcate.
Yeah, I think that's totally true. I also really don't make any distinction between brand and performance, or at least like what I was acknowledging earlier is that if you're running performance marketing, you are generating brand value. I've also always said the best way to generate brand is to have a bunch of happy customers. So you go acquire a bunch of customers, keep them happy, like your brand will build over time. And that's actually about like affinity to the brand versus, I don't know.
I don't disagree, but I also think, and I'm trying to use the right definition, but like, I do think at a certain point, performance marketing over indexes on short-term value,
yes,
which is a smaller part of the market and funnel, and does choke future growth of, demand creation and creating future demand of a much wider part of the funnel that people are just not ready to buy now. And I think that's what I'm trying to prove out. But where we feel like we've gotten to is, I don't want to say plateaued, but we need to kind of move up funnel and create future demand. But again, it's one of those things where it's like, what I don't want brand to become for us and what I don't want it to be is like devoid of accountability. It's not, I'm just going to go and do a bunch of this stuff. So you have to be able to prove it, which is I think where brand tracking helps. And there's other ways as well. Brand search, you can still test incrementality in some ways, but it should all be tied to business objectives. But on the other end of that, you also can't hold it to the same accountability. Like, it might not be a ROI metric. It might be, something else that's less, I don't know. I don't want to say subjective, but you know what I mean?
It's a softer science for sure. Yeah. Like we're typically talking about driving incremental, profitable return on ad spend. And it's going to be really hard on any even medium term time frame to like prove out that brand marketing does that. And that's why, to your point, it's like, yeah, okay, it's 30 cents per incremental move to consideration or whatever, right? Like, that's so you don't know when that turns into revenue over time, but does it help you justify, hey, 8% of my budget is going to go to channels that do this, and I'm going to have confidence that that's building brand, or that's actually generating latent revenue over time in our stores and on .com and like in all these ways that are going to be harder to attribute. I think that seems extremely reasonable. And at some point, I think brands hit that where they there's no way around it. Ridge is in the same bucket where it's like, as we expand in retail, as more of our business moves to Amazon, we are naturally going to have to move upper funnel, and we want the people who are in Best Buys to already be aware of us when they're shopping for their gifts for dad. And that sort of marketing is just going to look way different.
Oh, totally. And that's why most of beauty is in Sephora and wholesale. And that's why most of beauty is influencer and brand stuff, because there is no direct click purchase,
Right.
And so we're hopefully we'll have 25 to 30 stores by the end of next year. Like, that stuff just becomes even more important.
Okay, perfect.
One thing on that, I do know, and this is kind of cool for us, I do know, and I'm working with House. Hopefully I can say it and Olivia won't get me in trouble, won't be mad at me, but that they are starting to work on actually being able to run geo holdouts based on adding more upper funnel stuff. Because right now you get, and it's obviously super valuable and you need it, but you get revenue, you get, incremental customers, incremental new customers. But how cool would it be to be able to do the same things and use the same methodology across YouTube and Google and TV to say like, hey, this was my cost per search, my cost per incremental search. And I guess you could even back that out into what is a search worth to you? And then you could be like, all right, cool. Like our upper funnel spend maybe should be more on TV than on YouTube because, we get more efficient incremental searches there. Like
totally. Yeah. No, it'll be a super interesting time. Well, I feel like that's pretty good jam, and it'll be a good segue. So Jonathan McKenzie's coming on. We're going to talk TV. They've got an extremely cool brand. They're across a bunch of retailers and on Amazon. And I think he'll have a lot of cool stuff to say about brand marketing and how it's helped the Turtlebox. So we'll go there. I don't know how to transition here. All right, listeners, let's talk about the next couple months. Holiday spending is naturally going to slow down, but sales volume can still remain high as you get through shipping cutoffs, as you get into the new year, and as you crush your Q1 targets. One of our focuses at Ridge will be squeezing more revenue from every customer that we've been acquiring for so long, and that is where Aftersell by Rocked comes in. It's the one-click post-purchase upsell platform trusted by over 40,000 D2C brands, and here's how it works. When someone just bought from you, they're already in buying mode. They trust you, their card's on file. All you do is show them the right offer at the right time with zero friction. No re-entering payment info, no extra pages, just yes, add this, and boom, done. Brands are seeing up to 30% AOV lifts, and when you're running volume during the holidays or into 2026, that can compound fast. And look, Jones Road, Ridge, True Classic, Hexclad, we're not running Aftersell because it's trendy. We're running it because the unit economics work and the data is undeniable. But here's the kicker. Beyond the AOV boost, Aftersell unlocks Rocked Monetization Suite, pure profit with zero work. Rocked Thanks on your thank you page, 30 to 50 cents in pure profit per order. Rocked Pay Plus, another 20 to 25 cents per order. No impact on conversion. It's found money. So here's what you do. Go to aftersell.com/operators right now, activate Rocked Thanks or Rocked Pay Plus and get the full Aftersell suite for free. Run it, check your numbers, then you can come back and tell us if you want to turn it off, but I already know what you're going to say. All right, we've got a special guest, two special guests here today. This next segment is sponsored by Tatari. We've got Austin Santino, Client Development Manager at Tatari, returning guest. Austin, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me back on, guys. Excited.
100%. Awesome. And two, I'm super stoked. One of my I'd call it a newly favorite brand. They are top of mind for me pretty frequently. We've got Jonathan McKenzie, co-founder of Turtlebox Audio. Jonathan, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
100%. So we want to talk TV. We want to talk creative. I'd love to get a brief overview. So Jonathan, I don't know if everybody's going to be familiar with Turtlebox. Can you give us a brief, the brief history of the company? What sparked the idea for Turtlebox and where are you guys at today?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll keep it brief, but I'm one of four founders. My partners and I are best friends. We've been friends for, 20 years. And if you go back in time to 2011, we all moved in together. We were roommates. Shortly after we moved in together, one of my partners, Will Bradley, he convinced all of us to buy an old sailboat together. And so we bought this old 1972 Ranger 29-foot sailboat. I think it cost us like $9,000 and split it four ways. And we thought we were kings. I mean, we were weekend warriors. We all had good corporate jobs back then. And so Friday afternoon, roll around and we'd bug out and head down to Galveston Bay and go sailing. And the one thing our old boat did not have was a stereo. And if you kind of rewind in your minds to 2011, 2012, the portable speaker business mostly didn't exist back then. There was a few things out there. None of them were engineered specifically for the outdoors, specifically, kind of a waterborne environment. And so we had kind of bought and broken everything that existed and nothing was cutting it. And so back to Will, the guy who convinced us to buy the boat, he is kind of the quintessential, like, I got to have music with me everywhere. And he had kind of been dreaming up this little speaker. We've got the original one in the front of our office. I actually wish I had it here with me. That would have been a good prop. And he kind of tells the three of us, like, hey guys, I think we can build this little speaker and we'll put this thing here and this thing here and it'll be waterproof, rugged, and loud. And we're like, man, that sounds great. Let's build it so we can have music on our boat. Like, that sounds super fun. So the four of us build it. The question we get asked all the time is, which one of y'all is the engineer? And we say none of us. And we kind of laugh that like all four of us kind of make one engineer. That's proof that you don't have to be wicked smart to start a company. And so we build this thing and it works like really, really well. And we take it everywhere with us. And, again, if I had the original one in here, you would notice something about it and it doesn't say Turtlebox anywhere on it. And that's because the idea for the business came about a year after we built the speaker. So truly born out of personal need and desire. And we took it with us everywhere for about a year. And after that year, the four of us are kind of hanging out in our backyard, drinking beer one night. And I had been thinking about our speaker a lot and its possibility as a business. And I pitched the guys on, hey guys, I think this speaker might be a business. Would y'all want to start a company together? And we were all, youngish and single at the time and had good corporate jobs. And And it was kind of a no-brainer. We were like, oh man, that sounds like a blast. Let's do it. So, cheers. And we're going to start a business together and it's going to be great. About 30 seconds later, somebody's like, well, what are we going to call it? And Reagan, one of my other partners, without missing a beat, he goes, let's call it Turtlebox. And we were all like, dang, that's pretty good. Like, let's call it Turtlebox. And we kind of cheersed again. And the rest is history. And, look, we didn't quit our jobs. That really kicked off about a 6-year period of time where we got our masters in kind of product development, engineering, supply chain, all of these things. And it took us a long time to get to a commercially viable product, which we launched in 2018. So, really inception of the business is kind of 2011, 2012. And then a product that was ready for the market came out in July of 2018. That was our first generation speaker. And that's kind of where we started to learn about digital marketing, advertising in general, content creation, all of this stuff, right, that we're now pretty good at. And it wasn't until 2020 that we all started to transition and come to work for the business. We were the first 4, employees of the business. And it was quite amazing what happened when the business received full-time leadership and stewardship. By 2022, we launched our second generation speaker. So still a one product company. But now we're onto our second generation product, which was significantly better, more rugged, durable, loud, waterproof, all the things. And so 2022 is a big needle mover. And that's where a lot of our growth really started to kick in. And so over the last few years, we have just seen truly legitimately hyperbolic growth in a way that's pretty humbling. And so, now we've got about 80 people on the team and, we're a very, very healthy business and very thankful and just trying to do the next best thing. Oh, and we're a 3-product company now. I'm sorry. Like this past year, we launched our second and third products, which was a big thing for us. Kind of moving from a 1-product company to a 3-product company was literally not 3 times more complicated. It was like 50 times more complicated for us. So
totally love the backstory. I feel one of the reasons I like you guys a lot. I do feel Ridge and Turtlebox are like kindred spirits a little bit.
Yeah.
There's some best friend origin stories. Our CEO and I were living together for a bit, so we don't have nearly as cool of a story as the sailboat. So you guys got us beat there, but still pretty good. So one of the things, and then this will transition nicely into like the content approach for TV, but you guys are obviously very differentiated. You're built for a very specific audience. The speaker space is relatively crowded. I feel like you guys took a very novel approach to like audio equipment. So maybe you could talk a little bit about when you realized how did you find the content approach to like meta ads that worked? And like, what did that look like over time? And then when did you begin, testing into TV?
Yeah, good question. And yeah, it is a crowded space at this point. It wasn't when we started. And, I think it does start with the product for us. And it was like, hey, look, because we are not geniuses and because we are not engineers and because we do not come from a consumer products background, it was really our philosophy to, hey, like, we just want to find the lowest common denominator for all things that make this product great. And so for us, that was just, let's keep it simple. Like, this is not going to be a smart speaker. This is going to be a dumb speaker. We want to make it, and we say this a lot, like we want our grandmothers to be able to use this product, And so this just needs to be very simple, and we're going to do very simple things extraordinarily well. We're going to create a reliable, high-quality product. We're going to attach it to a great ID, a good design, something that's aesthetically pleasing, and then we're going to attach a great brand to that. And so that's kind of our like ultra simple strategy for what allows us to now go create great content and differentiate ourselves. So I think by the product alone, we have already found differentiation because most portable speakers are designed around, how complicated something could be and how new and technologically, mind-blowing it could be. And we're like, no, we're just going to do a few things really, really well. And so that starts out some of our differentiation. Then you bolt on it starts with who we are, and I think somebody told me a long time ago, in the consumer product space, never build a product that you are not first and foremost the core consumer of that product. And so the four of us are the consumer of our product. And we are all different, but all similar in a lot of ways. And so when we started out, we were like, well, what do we like to do? And we were like, well, we're just some good old boys from Texas. Like, we like to hunt and fish and be outside. So let's start there, and we received some advice and some wisdom from Ryan and Roy Cedars, the guys who started Yeti, and they become great friends of ours. And so they supported that. They were like, yeah, that's a good strategy. That's basically what we did. So, it'll probably work. And so that was, again, a way for us to just be different, and it goes all the way even into our dealers, not to bypass content, but it was like, hey, if we're going to focus on a core consumer that is mostly interested in getting outside and hunting and fishing, where, quite frankly, like, you really don't need to listen to music when you're hunting. And so there's kind of an interesting, like, almost provocative nature to that. You can when you're fishing. A lot of times when you're on the boat, it makes a whole lot of sense. But there's kind of like we get asked the question a lot, like, why hunt? Like, why? And we were like, man, because there's community that exists around those pursuits. And so, yeah, I don't need a speaker when I'm sitting in a tree stand looking for whitetail. But man, after that, when I'm back at hunt camp, sitting around a campfire, drinking coffee with my buddies, like, oh man, fire it up,
Totally.
And so then that translates into the sales component, which would be, we built we started as a D2C brand, but, when we got into wholesale, it was like, hey, we're going to build our wholesale book of business on the backs of, like, mom and pop specialty boutique doors. We're not building it on the backs of big box retail. And our first retailers were what we call hook and bullet stores. Like, they were guys selling ammo and fishing lures. And so there was no competition in those stores. It was like, you'd walk into your favorite hunting and fishing store and it'd be like, I'm here to buy some fishing lures. What is that? Oh, that's a Turtlebox. It'll make your life better when you're at hunting or fishing camp, And so there wasn't 14 other speakers on their shelf. It was just us, kind of out of place in a way. And that's a huge part of our success story that did set us apart. Does that answer your question?
100%. Yeah. No, that point of differentiation, both at the product level, I think is a good point. And then, like, who you're speaking to and how you're speaking to them, I think is what sets Turtlebox apart and what makes, like, the meta ads compelling or whatever else. All right, I have the pleasure of telling you about our sponsor, Revo, which is a retention platform for Shopify Plus brands. They cover everything from accounts to loyalty, referrals, memberships, store credit, wallet passes, and more. Ridge is a loyal user, as well as Hexclad, Dr. Squatch, True Classic, Portland Leather Goods, Kitsch, LSKD, Princess Polly, Pit Viper, Graza, and hundreds more brands. There's some really big brands relying on Revo to power their retention platform every single day. I am a firm believer in signed-in shopping. One of our strategies to generating more lifetime value is to simply make it a better experience to be a customer of Ridge.com, and Revo plays a key role in that. Stuart, the founder there, one of my favorite people to work with. The platform's fantastic. They're fully bootstrapped. They are shipping features extremely fast with very cool agentic workflows. And lucky for you, they just launched Revo editions with over 30 plus updates, including unified store credit and Revo discount functions that give you more flexibility over how you're giving credit balances and discounts to all of your customers. And my favorite update of all, they are launching wallet passes. So you'll be able to get your customers downloading wallet passes and sending them messages via push notifications. It is totally free for all Shopify Plus stores. Go to revo.io today to check it out. I'm curious, jump into the TV portion now. Not the portion, but Austin, I'm curious, when you see a brand like Turtlebox, clear intended audience that they're speaking to, there's a lot of context, there's a lot of community, like Jonathan mentioned. What do you think makes them such a strong fit for TV as a channel?
Yeah, great question. I think number one, it's a specific customer, but like Jonathan said, it's very different. And one of the, greatest things that Jonathan and his team do is put together creative that really builds around community, and it tells a story, right? And TV is the best place to tell a story, in my opinion. And so the chance to just kind of use some modern technology to go out and put these really diverse creative assets out in front of the right type of people makes it a very natural fit.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm curious on the community point. You guys run golf focused ads on golf programming. You run baseball ads on baseball networks, football creatives during college football, things like that. We've got bowl season coming up. Jonathan, what's your guys' approach to just content creation? I'd love to know, like, are you guys doing a number of productions? How does this like volume of content get produced to be running across all these networks in a context that is going to be familiar to the audience?
Yeah, man. Great question. I'd be lying if I didn't tell you it is an ever evolving process, for a company like us that's, we're about to close our 5th year with over 200% growth annually. It's like there is nothing here that is constant, so it is always changing. We're always learning. I think that's a big part of our team and what I encourage, particularly on the marketing and creative side where I spend a lot of my time, is just, we've got to stay flexible and adaptable. So on the content creation side, it does start with community. I know we're using that word a lot, but for us, what started as 2 communities, Hunt and Fish, has grown into, probably closer to like 10 communities that we really want to speak to. And by speaking to those people, we're both telling them that like, hey, our product inserts well into who you people are. We think it's going to elevate your pursuits and the things that you love. And so, and we love seeing people gather. Like a big part of kind of the ethos of Turtlebox and why we feel like we deserve to exist is because we think that Turtlebox unites 2 things that all people universally enjoy: being outside and listening to music. And if we can get more people off the couch and, outside doing fun things with their friends or family, and music can be a part of that, man, that's like, we succeeded, and so as community has grown, as our community teams, and we have a community manager over all of these verticals that we call them. And so we use those communities, the ambassadors that fall within those communities, and we really refer to them as ambassadors rather than simply influencers, because we treat them as a relationship. A lot of these people are not natural content creators, but they are what we would consider to be like experts in their field or the tip of the spear in their sphere of influence. In a very real and authentic, I hate that word now because it's just such a buzzword. I need to get a thesaurus out and find a better word. But, and so we use our community team as a driver for our content. And we like to talk about what we call here is circular investments. And so if my creative director goes and films a commercial and doesn't use an ambassador from our community team, like he kind of didn't do his job right. Right. And so if we're like, hey, Jason, who's our creative director, hey, we need a new piece or, whatever, like fishing season and spring, like his first job is to go talk to our fishing community manager and say, hey, we've got a need. Who are we featuring? Where are we doing it? Geographically, where do we need to grow fish? Hey, we've got the Gulf Coast fairly well saturated. What are we doing with like inland, freshwater bass fishing, and him and our community team will work together to highlight a person of interest and a geography. And that's kind of how that starts, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. And we talk about that a lot on the show. I think it's a super interesting way of creating content, kind of like a bottoms up approach. So Austin, I'm curious, how does Tatari approach kind of like the media planning for a brand like Turtlebox that wants to be shown across a bunch of different sports? They're creating a bunch of different pieces of content. They want to be appealing to all these different people. What's Tatari's role in that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think our job is really to use high signal channels like connected TV to go out and test across different types of content, whether it be sports, outdoor, etc., at a lower budget entry point, right? And because connected TV is so measurable, we test across, we can give a specific example even, right? So if we test across connected TV on MLB programming or targeting MLB viewers, if we measure it and it works, that's what's really going to give companies like Turtlebox the confidence to go out and take a bigger swing, right? So maybe a live MLB playoff game or college football, etc. So it's really about finding a way to test conservatively, validate things, and then really help give them the confidence to go out and tell the story to a wider group of people.
Awesome.
And they've done a good job of that.
Yeah, we at Ridge, this very self-serving question because like we just saw a bunch of success with MLB. And I think one of our biggest opportunities for next year is exactly, and I was just talking about this with my team. One of our biggest opportunities next year is doing more sports and then also doing more like context-aware spots. Like we were just running our evergreen stuff during the MLB playoffs. And I'm like, oh, if we could just like make that much more of a connection between like the baseball lifestyle and, you know, the Ridge wallet or some of our other complementary products, I just think there's like a lot of meat on the bone there. And that's why,
Totally
Jonathan,
agree.
I asked you about the content production because we have to figure out how to do that. How are we building that out in a thoughtful way across all these different sporting events?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, Austin, I've got one more for you, a little more tactical. What would your strategic recommendation be for brands who are trying to figure out how to budget between streaming and linear?
Absolutely. So I think when you're first starting out, streaming is a great way to validate the channel, whether it's content, audience, publisher, creative, etc. Right? It's very measurable. It's going to look and feel more like digital to a standard marketer, right? For one of your listeners. And then as you grow, linear is a very cost-effective way to extend your audience, right? So as you start to expand past, very niche targeting types, start to lean into bigger moments, that's what's really going to help you speak to audiences that maybe you don't really get a chance to speak to on digital. And then over time, as you're thinking about how to really divvy up the budget between both, we always guide brands to maybe not even think about segmentation, right? It's find the most efficient way to reach your audience and then just optimize within them because they're both video, right? When I'm at home, I don't say, let's watch linear, let's watch streaming. It's big screen and it gives brands like Jonathan's a chance to tell a great story.
Yeah. So I'm curious about this too. Ridge, longtime Tatari customer, we almost exclusively spend on linear, but for brands onboarding today, your recommendation is, to your point earlier, starting with CTV for the measurement, for the clarity. You're identifying what sort of programming works, what are the audiences you want to speak to, and then you can kind of get scale and cost effectiveness via linear.
Absolutely. And, it's oftentimes brands will start with streaming because it gives us more chances to play with targeting, right? Carry over some learnings from other channels. But they'll still include linear early on if it's contextually relevant, right? Like a lot of Jonathan's creatives lend very well to things like the outdoor channel, et cetera.
Totally.
So linear might make sense as well.
Black Friday, you're about to crush it. The real job is keeping that momentum going past Black Friday, past holiday, and all the way into next year. Prescient helps brands turn peak season wins into predictable, profitable velocity. Powered by a suite of proprietary machine learning models and a causality-first validation layer, Prescient reveals what actually drove lift. It combines surveys, it combines multi-touch attribution and incrementality, and then it forecasts where your next dollar of media will drive real incremental profit. Top brands like Coterie, Guess, Hexclad, Jones Road Beauty, Mary Roos, and many more are using Prescient to quantify halo effects across Shopify, Amazon retail, so their teams know exactly where to reinvest. So what actual questions can Prescient help you answer? Let's dig into it a little bit. Question number 1, do I need to increase, decrease, or reallocate spend for the shopping season? Prescient shows the optimal media mix to drive the strongest Q4 performance, whether your budget grows or shrinks. Question number 2, where should I put additional Q4 budget? Prescient delivers recommendations based on current BFCM dynamics, your vertical, and your optimal ad spend allocation. Question number 3, can Prescient measure cross-channel effects, especially between Shopify and Amazon? Yes, Prescient uniquely tracks halo effects and ad impact across both platforms, revealing where to dial back and where to double down. This is actually one of the very first problems that Hexclad onboarded with Prescient to solve, is understanding the total impact across both .com and Amazon over ad spend. Prescient's models are benchmarked against $6 billion in ad spend, so the recommendations you are getting aren't just theory. They've actually been tested against billions of real media dollars. And if you're ready to see where your next dollar of media will drive the most profit, visit prescientai.com/operators to forecast your growth with Prescient.
Jonathan, for 2026, I'm sure you guys are thinking a lot about it. Do you have any iterations on the strategy or places where you'd like to go with your linear and streaming channel?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, things are always changing here. Fundamentally, I don't think there's anything massive that's changing. Like, I think the platforms we're on are good, and, the way that we're executing on those platforms is really good. Where I see, like, we're learning, particularly when it comes to TV. And I think we have done well on TV, but we've also made some mistakes in that, like, there's been plenty of times where all of a sudden we feel like, wait, are we kind of using TV like performance? Like, are we feeding it too much creative? Or, like I always make the example of, like, you take Toyota or somebody, right? And Toyota will run the same commercial on TV for like a year. Like, they're not constantly changing their creative. Like, they are driving home a message with a freaking jackhammer for 12 to 18 months. And they spent, $5 million on that content or whatever, right? So they got to get their money back. I want to see us get better at that. Like, that's a real goal of mine. And the way that I'm leading our team is, in the way that we think about creative, is because historically, right, like, we haven't been TV investors. We've been performance investors. And so performance investing is like day trading, and it's like, hey, we got this new piece, like, throw it in the algorithm, let's see what it does. Oh, it did good. Okay, great. Feed it. Oh, it didn't do good. Kill it. Okay. And it's like, that's fine in that space, but that's not the right way to do TV. So, like, that's one thing that I want us to see us do a lot better, is be really, really intentional about the creative that we send to TV and to Tatari. I'm famous around here for, like, I love, shooting for the moon. So, like, literally when I was in LA, I don't know, a couple months ago, meeting with Tatari, I was like, okay, guys, how much is that 2027 Super Bowl commercial going to be?
I was just going to make that joke. I'm like, when are we getting the Turtlebox Super Bowl ad?
And my president was sitting across the table, and he was like, I literally opened the meeting with that. And he was like, I cannot believe that was your first question. That's going to derail the whole meeting. And I was like, well, that's what I'm here to talk about. So, I just see us doing things at a higher level. We're constantly maturing. I think because of our growth, it's like we have some maturing to do. We have some growing up to do. And so I see 26 being a big maturation year, executing at a higher level, being far more intentional about our storytelling and the type of creative that we are putting on TV.
I was going to ask about that. Like, I mean, I'm so impressed with your guys' creative and the ambassador stuff. Like, it seems like you guys are shooting a decent amount. How often are you producing new concepts? Are you producing for just like, hey, we're gonna do a shoot with this ambassador. We're gonna get stuff across paid social, e-com, social, TV in one shot? Are you specifically going for TV? And how often are you, like, producing?
Yeah, great question. Again, it's evolving. I would say, like, historically, our content production model is very, like, highly collaborative. And what I would say Turtlebox has done a tremendous job of, and this is kind of I think y'all will get it when I say this, like, we always want people to see that Turtlebox has friends, not money. Like, we have a lot of friends. Okay. And I'm just going to shoot you straight here. There are like 2 or 3 pieces of content over the last year or two that were some of the best pieces of content that we have. They were some of the best performers in our whole library, and we paid $0 for them, and we told nobody to do them. And, like,
how do I get friends like that? I need those friends.
It's unbelievable. It's like, literally, like, we've had college kids that are wildly talented, literally produce things and, like, email it to us as like hey, I think you guys are cool, and I made this. And we're like we're talking about it in a executive leadership meeting. We're like, did y'all see this? Like, this kid made this and sent it to us. Nobody told him to do this. And we're like, throw it up on the TV, like,
yeah.
And now, so that's like one end of the spectrum. I don't want y'all to think that that's 100% of what we do. I'm just acknowledging that, like, that happens. And so on the other end, like, yeah, we have plenty of structured, professional, high production, shoots. We probably do 6 of those a year, I would say, where there's like massive deliverables, big creative team. And so you kind of put those as the bookends, and then there's a bunch of stuff that happens in between. And so we like to consider ourselves to be very fast and light. Typically, like I've been a part of some really high production stuff, not with us, like with other companies. Like Amazon did a feature on us, and no disrespect to Amazon, like, oh my God, I hated every second of it. Like, it was like literally 50 people on set for a 15-second commercial. It was the most inefficient process I've ever been a part of. And so we don't like doing that. We typically never do that. We like to be fast and light. So we have we have a really great internal creative team that does accomplish a lot of content. And then we have a lot of friends, like we were talking about. And then we have like an army of contractors, of really, really, really great photo and video people that also edit a lot of their own stuff. And they're constantly on jobs for us. So it's a mixed bag.
Connor, I feel like you guys are kind of similar. I feel like you guys have a team and then do a lot of shooting, but it seems like you can kind of like put a crew together if you have an event or something like that you guys need to shoot. Is that right?
I think we do an okay job of that. I'm envious of what Jonathan described. I think what we talk about tip of the spear a lot. I like that phrase. And I don't know, Jonathan, if you'd agree, but it feels like the 6 high production shoots can kind of be tip of the spear content, really like aspirational stuff, high quality, cinematic, etc. And then you have you can kind of build the universe around that. And I think that's a great approach. And Turtlebox comes to mind, Takovas comes to mind, Yeti comes to mind, these like fantastic outdoor brands that take that approach. And I feel Ridge can improve quite a bit there.
Yeah, we're trying to kind of like put together a crew. Like we have internal crew as well. We can do a bunch. And like even now that like I don't even have a shoot plan for TV or video, it's just like trying to assemble, different freelancers, different agencies, just for like have it ready for whenever it is. So I love that. I think that's inspiration for both of us.
100%. Okay, cool. I've got one more for Austin, then one more for Jonathan. Austin, for brands who see themselves in the Turtlebox story, strong product, loyal users, what's the first step in exploring TV?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think Jonathan, almost when he was saying he was doing something wrong, I think he actually just made it a natural progression of starting to growing the channel, right? Mm-hmm. When brands first come to us, it really is about, we have to prove that it works, right? And if you can validate it first, that it's driving performance for the business, I think long-term, that's what helps you really start to invest and take bigger swings and think about the channel maybe a little bit more maturely, like his team's starting to do now, right? I think the other thing is really focusing on control, transparency, et cetera, over, and sometimes just convenience. They're very specific in some cases about the types of buys they're moving into. And that's what allows them to get that really strong product fit within the program, et cetera, right?
Totally. All right. I'll be taking notes from that too. Jonathan, you're ending us out here. You're going to close us out with this one. High level question. We've got a bunch of brands that listen to the show. What's a single piece of advice that you'd have from the Turtlebox playbook that people should be considering or putting into action?
Yeah, man. Excellent question. We could do a whole nother pod on that. We made a lot of mistakes. There's probably 2 things that I would want to leave people with. The first is take small bets. When we started advertising in 2018, we kind of looked at each other and we were like, we don't know anything about this. So what amount of money can we lose today? And it was like $100, right? And so, all right, well, let's go spend $100 on Meta. And all right, we did that. Okay, we made 10 cents. All right, let's do it again, and do it again and do it again and do it again, right? And so I think that what we've done well, and what I do genuinely encourage other people to do is take small bets. Like you can overanalyze a lot of things to the point of never doing them, or you can assess whether, I can do this. It aligns with a fail fast mentality, quite frankly, where it's like, hey, look, and I love advertising from the perspective of what you can learn from it, like the data that you get back from it. So like, take a small bet, learn something, do it again. Take a small bet, learn something, do it again. Change, pivot, course correct. Like when you take small bets, you always leave yourself margin to adjust and learn and do something different. And all of a sudden, what started out as $100 bets becomes, much larger bets, years later. And when we started doing Tatari, like seriously, it was like, those money we were willing to lose. And that was not small amounts of money. It was real dollars, but we were like, well, I remember when I got pitched on it, when my team pitched me on it, I was like, what are we going to learn? Like, if I spend this money and it fails, what are we going to learn? And they were like, here's what we think we're going to learn. And I'm like, well, let's go do it, And we learned, and it wasn't a total failure. It was a great success, validated the brand in new ways, that performance marketing can't, because anybody with a credit card can go run performance marketing. So take small bets. Don't be afraid to take risk. Just take conservative risk, Don't take risk that runs you bankrupt. The second piece of advice is like, man, surround yourself with good people. We have the benefit of, I'm one of 4 founders. A partnership is the hardest ship to sail, no doubt about it. But if I was the only person running this company, it would have died a long time ago. And a massive part of our success is the fact that there are 4 people at the helm. We are all 4 very different. We have made mostly every meaningful decision in the history of this company through a unanimous decision of 4. And while that has been inefficient and slow at times, it has resulted in us making almost 0 poor choices. And if I'm in control, I promise you, I will make some poor choices. So if you are a sole founder, man, get yourself some advisors, get yourself some wise people around you. If you're a co-founder, man, wrestle with your co-founder. That wrestling is good and productive, and it will lead you to good places.
Love it. I think that's sage advice. All right. Well, Jonathan, Austin, thank you guys for coming on.
Yeah, man. Thank you for
Thanks
having
for
us.
having us.
Thank you, guys.
All right. That is a wrap on our linear and streaming segment sponsored by Tatari. Thank you again for Austin and Jonathan for coming on. As always, thank you to our sponsors, Motion, Rich Panel, Prescient, Aftercell, and Revo. Make sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends and family, and we will see you again next week. Thank you.